start at 6 o'clock so that
Yeah, at exactly 6, we will do that.
let me just greet a few people. Hi, Sharon Del Rosario. Hi, D. Ancott from our volunteers team. Hi, Elijah Farias. Hi to all the people who are joining us right now. We still have a few more minutes before we start the webinar.
Afternoon, everyone. It's also good that the storm has already passed. So I think in terms of connectivity, we won't be encountering much issue on that aspect. Because last night I joined in. I came in a bit late. But yeah, I could see we had some technical difficulty and probably, the storm contributed to it. But I hope everyone is safe and sound after the storm has passed. I'm wondering where Ambo right now is. But about you guys, did you go to the office, to your respective offices today? Because today, officially, we are under MECQ. And I've seen some posts on Facebook that earlier or this morning, EDSA was quite heavy in terms of traffic. No, traffic in EDSA was quite heavy. And I would like to think that a lot of those vehicles are there because, we are returning or going back to our respective offices in preparation for next week. So I'm sure, and I would like to think that some of our HR colleagues, went out of their houses to go to their respective offices and actually prepare for Monday, for next week. And I also understand some companies are conducting rapid testing in preparation for next week.
A few more minutes, guys, and we'll be starting.
Yes, about 4 minutes.
Currently, we have 50 participants and still growing. Last night, we had 90. Hopefully, we'll be able to beat that number.
Yes, we are happy to have more than 50 right now, about 50. Yes, we're waiting for more participants to come in.
Shout out to Jessa Digman, Romeo De Cinco, and Wilma.
Hi, everyone.
Shout out also to Yen Espinosa Versosa. And I think this is my friend. Shout out to OJ, Mark De Los Reyes. Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
So Neil, what have you been doing last week? I mean, let's do a check-in while waiting for more people to join. What have you been busy last week?
Well, for me, as I handle learning and development in my company, so we've been very busy with a lot of online learning sessions at that. And last week in particular, we had a session with the managers because we understand how crucial their role is in the transition that we are to encounter. No, I mean, we are transitioning now to a different kind of work arrangement for everyone. So in preparation for that, we had a learning session for the managers in particular, talking about the transition, how we go about it, and how to best manage their team while we are working remotely. And we also took that as an opportunity for us to discuss the guidelines, the general guidelines of the company, our crisis management team in relation to going back to some of us will be going back to work. Actually, a few will be going back to work next week. So in preparation for that, so we also informed them of the biosafety protocols, etc. So yeah,
It
so
will be an
that's what have been.
exciting, correct.
I'm sorry.
It will be an exciting week for the rest of the population who will be coming back to work starting
Right.
today or starting on Monday. But in your industry, Neil, how many, am I correct that 50% of your workforce will be going back to the office, or are you still
Not
on
really.
work from home?
It's less than 30%. Most of the employees who will be coming back are from or in the laboratory because we do some testing. So we really require them, but part of it really is taking good care of taking care of their transportation, their meals, their accommodation. That has been the case for the last 2 months. So some of them have actually been reporting, and they will still continue to report come next week. And the same arrangements, transportation, meal allowance, meals. We are providing them meals and also accommodation because we are not requiring them to go back, let's say, leave the house on a daily basis and go to the office on a daily basis. We do it per week. So we have to have an accommodation for everyone. For about probably 20% of us are going back. Us in HR, not all of us. It's,
For our organization, I think
yeah,
out of 400 plus, we're only allowing people to go back. I think less than 20, and this are really skeletal force. 95% of our workforce will still be at work from home. But for those people who are on skeletal, who will be coming to work as part of our skeletal team, we have provided them food, shuttle, and make sure that, of course, the safety hazard is in place
correct.
in the office. So I think, Neil, it's already 6 p.m.
Yes, it's already
So
6 o'clock.
let's start. But
And
before that,
yeah,
hello to Dominic Sumagpang. Hello to Jessa Digman. Hello to Romeo De Cinco, to Wilma, to Jessa Digman, to Reynald. So hello to everyone who just joined. Currently, we are at 66. So
yes, we
more
are.
people are joining.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. And again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Well, tonight is our actually the fourth installment of our four-part series of our virtual classes. And of course, this is in partnership with Jobstreet.com Philippines. So thank you very much again, Jobstreet.com Philippines, for allowing us to partner with you for this 4-day virtual learning classes. So I would like to introduce myself first. I am Neil Lumakad, currently the Vice President for External of the Philippines HR Group. So again, thank you very much that you are joining in this webinar. So as I've mentioned, no, we are on our fourth day. Okay. May I consider this, Darwin, as our season one for the virtual classes? Are we expecting some more? But anyway, we'll let you know eventually. But what is good right now is that we are on our fourth day. And just to let you know again, for those who have joined in the last three sessions, thank you very much. And for those who have or just joining in today, so we'd like to inform you that we had three topics already or 3 days for this. The first one we had with Gino Cabigaw, and he was talking about he discussed about discussed hiring, and then the behavior of the prospective hires in the new normal. And then we had a session with Professor Ricky De Vera, and he talked about us HR practitioners as catalysts of resurgence, no, instead of the use of the word change. So he opted to use the word resurgence. So going back, recovering. So resurgence is the best term that Professor Ricky De Vera shared with us. And then yesterday, it was an inspiring evening for everyone, especially for us HR practitioners, because Sir Ricky Manalo talked about
Eric Manalo.
Eric Manalo, sorry, Sir Eric Manalo. Sorry for that. So Sir Eric mentioned he discussed, the importance of going back to the very core of our profession. And he mentioned about passion, no? Continue to have that passion for the kind of work that we do in order for us to thrive better in this, crisis. And tonight, okay, we shall have our very own founder. You could already see him, our very own founder and president of the Philippines HR Group, as our resource speaker. And our role, I could mention now that I could say that our role in HR even becomes more vital at this point in time. We are transitioning to the new normal, to the so-called new normal, and we have been playing a very important role in this time of crisis, to say the least. No, but as we transition to this so-called new normal, we are expecting different, probably larger role that we are to play as HR practitioners. So even more challenging. I would like to use the word exciting, but others may use challenging. But I would rather consider it as a positive challenge for everyone, for us HR practitioners. Okay. Some of the questions that will be answered rather by Darwin as our resource speaker tonight. As most of us are in a more flexible working arrangement, how could we improve employee experiences? Darwin will talk about improving employee experiences as we are in a flexible working arrangement. And then what else? What are the developments? And what shall we focus more on as HR practitioners or in HR? And then what do we see and anticipate as the biggest challenges, the challenges that we are to face, as we transition in this time of pandemic. So I'm excited for tonight. Just a few reminders again for our audience. Your microphone is automatically on mute to better manage the flow of information. And you may utilize at the bottom of your screens the Q&A tab for your questions. And of course, Darwin will be more than happy to reply to those questions at the end or right after his presentation. So um, now we are about 80 participants, so close to 80. So I'm happy. Welcome again to our fourth webinar in this 4-day virtual class or 4-day series of our virtual classes. So I've just introduced myself and also the topic that we are going to discuss tonight. So may I now introduce, while you know very well Darwin Rivers, but I would still want to formally introduce him to you as our resource speaker tonight. Okay, Darwin Rivers has almost 20 years of progressive leadership and management experience in both in operations and human resource. His experiences run across F&B, retail, and the IT BPO industry, where he became an HR director for a multinational shared services company at the age of 30. He is the recipient of the following recognitions: 2018 Pillar of Youth Awards from the National Youth Commission, 2019 HR Leadership Award from the Employers Brand of the Philippines, 2019 Top 11 of LinkedIn's Top 100 Filipinos to follow in LinkedIn, and was named among the top 501 global HR leaders held in Mumbai, India this year in 2020. And thirdly, Darwin is working full-time as the country HR and admin director of Peak Outsourcing, a multi-site BPO company. And of course, for a fact that Darwin is our founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. So without further ado, I would like to give the virtual floor to our coach, Darwin Rivers. Darwin?
Thank you, Neil. Hi, everyone. Hi to all the people who have joined us right now at our class 4 of the virtual learning class. Currently, I'm seeing about 86 people, but I'm sure more people will be joining us. The topic that I have for today is about the new role of HR post COVID-19. So, do you believe that our role changes, our role evolves, um, especially right now after this pandemic? We will be discussing, will our role really be changing? So let me just share to you my presentation. Give me a few seconds. I'm having problems with Zoom. I'm not seeing the share screen. Just give me a few sec, guys. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to see the green button that shares that says shared screen.
yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Okay, hi everyone. As mentioned, the topic for today that we'll be having is about a discussion about the new role of HR post COVID-19. Now, before we start, normally whenever I do trainings, I would have house rules, and this house rules is really not for me, but it's really for you guys to better absorb the discussion. So for this particular webinar, I dub it as FAST, and the abbreviation for FAST would be number one is forget. Forget what you already know. You need to empty the cup and leave space for new learning. Remember to be open to new ideas. A is to be active. Make sure you have active listening, listen to understand, and absorb all the things that you will be learning for today. State. And when we say state, this is actually your state of mind and your state of emotion. Um, Scientists would actually tell us that all learning is state dependent. So the informations combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. And this is really proven. So when you're excited, when you're optimistic, when you're interested about the topic, the more you will be absorbing the learning. And lastly is to teach. So I will be asking you guys after this webinar, after this presentation, I need you to share your experiences and your knowledge, not only to us, but also to to others, to your team members. Because when you teach, you actually get to learn it twice. Okay? So let me start by a quote coming from Julie Bevacqua, who is the CRO of Rice People. She said that in order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to your people. And I'm sure every HR or people manager who are listening right now, who are watching right now, would definitely agree on this because our understanding of our people would actually lead us to create better policies, better program, better processes to serve the company. And if we are able to serve the employees well, of course, there will be growth for everyone. Now, what are the learning objectives that we have for today? And I think I only have 60 minutes, but the learning objective that we'll be discussing will be number one, what is the problem? So the problem right now is COVID-19 and what will happen post COVID-19. Second would be what are the top issues that HR and the employees are currently facing during this pandemic. We will also be discussing about the biggest HR challenges that we have and what are we learning from all of these, from all of the challenges and issues that we have. And of course, if we have a problem, there should be a solution. So we'll be discussing about the solution mindset. And lastly, we will talk about reframing employee experience. Okay? So these are our learning objectives for today. Now, I would like you to please put on your chat box your idea about this particular phrase. COVID-19 has drastically changed the way we work. Why do you think that COVID-19 has changed the way we are currently working? So I'll give you 15 seconds. Please write them on your chat box, and Neil will be sharing that at the end of the program so that we'll know what are your thoughts about what's happening. So let's start. So what are the elements of our current situation? A few days back, Sir Ricky De Vera mentioned about the different elements of VUCA. If you're familiar with VUCA, VUCA means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, these are all the elements of a problem. And of course, if you will look on our current situation right now, COVID-19 has all these elements. Because of COVID-19, our global economic situation is very volatile. There is uncertainty in all levels of our organization. There are different complex problems that we are facing right now, not only as an HR person, but also in our daily lives. And there is ambiguity. We don't know what will happen. We don't know what are the things that will be coming and what are the other issues or problems that we may be facing in the future. So these are um, the things that we should start, because for me, we need to understand the problem first. So now we know that COVID-19 brings us this particular situation. We are now in a situation where there is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, what are the top issues that HR is currently facing? Now, I would like to share with you guys a survey that was done just recently, last April 2020. This is via HR Pulse. They have interviewed more than 1,000 HR leaders globally. And if you're seeing there, these are the top issues that HR leaders are facing right now. And the top four, if you are to generalize this, the top four concerns is health and well-being. Second will be how to manage report work. Next would be job and continuity. And of course, mental health being brought by uncertainty. But if you go on to the different um, results of the survey, what you will be seeing there is a lot of HR is really concerned of the health of their employees. What will happen when they start transitioning from on-site to work from home? What are the things that they'll be doing in terms of creating a um, employee engagement for their employees? How are they able to protect jobs, right? And so on and so forth. They said that clear and frequent communication is also an issue, continuity of business operations, long-term viability, planned workforce, dealing with uncertainty, reducing costs, which surprisingly is not at the top concern, and then helping employees of mental health, and then fostering regular communications with the employee. So these are the top HR issues based on HR Pulse 2020. Now we know that these are the issues in HR globally. Let's go to what are the issues of our employees, because for us to be able to again understand and provide solution, or for us to be able to provide solution, we need to understand where the employees are coming from. So these are the top issues of our employees based on the HR Pulse 2020. Part of the issues is, number one is job security. A lot of people globally is very much concerned. Do we still have jobs after this pandemic? Or is my job still available when I go back to work? And what we've learned, and this is from a personal experience, this is based on what I am seeing, situations from my friends. No one is indispensable. Would you believe there are directors, VPs who are actually losing work? There are actually people from my networks who are executives who are actually losing work, not only rank and file. So there is really a great deal of concern for job security. They're also concerned for personal health. There are more than 2 million right now who are infected of COVID-19. In the Philippines alone, we're almost 12,000. Now, going to work is something very frightening and very stressful, because you don't know What will happen? Would I get the disease if I go back to work? What are the precautions that my company is providing me, and what are the precautions that I can do to make sure that I won't get sick? Because if I get sick, a lot of things may happen. My family can also get sick. I won't be able to go back to work. I won't be able to be productive. There's also concerns about childcare and homeschooling, issues about personal finances. And you know what this crisis has taught us? Not only is that there's no job security, but if we do not have financial stability, if you don't have any savings or investments, then you will be into deep trouble, right? Because if you lose jobs and you don't have any uh, financial backup or savings, then that is really an issue. Aside from those issues, based on the survey, there's also a concern for employees coming to work or reporting via remote work. The viability of employer, the stress and mental anxiety that this pandemic is causing us, work-life balance. Would you believe that way back when we say work-life balance, we were able to distinguish how we live our life at work and how we live our life at home or our personal life. But right now, since most of the people are working at home, they're not able to juggle their time. I mean, they're not able to fully balance their time with their family and with their work because their work is now being done at home. There's also a concern in family health, productivity, and social isolation. It's already what, 61 days from the time that the Philippines or NCR at least has announced lockdown. And for 61 days, a lot of people are isolated in their homes. And there's an impact to that, both psychologically and of course emotionally. Now, the top HR concerns basically of our employees would be financial security, health and well-being, family, and then productivity at work. So now we know top issues of our HR department or the top issues of HR globally. We've also understand what are the top issues of our employees based on this HR pulse. Next that we will be discussing is what are the biggest challenges, and this is dealing. Sorry for that. I wasn't able to proofread this. This is the biggest HR challenges in dealing with COVID-19. Again, um, that's dealing, not dialing. Now, what are the challenges? First is difficulty in coordinating response across teams, business units, and geographies. If you're working in a company that has many offices or has many sites across different geographies and across different locations, we just realized that because of the pandemic, it's very hard to actually communicate with our teams. And not only that, not only our HR teams, but also communicating to our business leaders who are in those different geographies, who are those or department heads who are handling those different areas. We're also having an issue in two-way communication. We found out that two-way communication is no longer as effective as it could be. Uh, Before, prior pandemic, the communication between a rank and file is to his or her immediate manager or supervisor. Right now, the communication mostly is done top level, right? Um, most of the communication are being done by the senior leaders, executives, or whatnot, or there is one source of information, which is actually good. If you have one source of information for everyone, there's actually lessen or the fake news or the wrong information given to employees. But the impact of that is because it's top level, the leaders, the immediate managers and supervisors are no longer engaging and communicating with their employees. They themselves are at loss. They just follow what the top level management is saying for them to able to communicate to their employees. Kumbaga, walang personal touch. There's no longer involvement of the immediate managers and supervisors. Another challenge that we're seeing is not adjusting enough to help our customers and our employees. And this is a reality. Come our current situation of COVID-19, because of this pandemic, a lot of industries are closed, a lot of businesses are closed. Our clients and customers are now at loss also, and we're not able to support them because of the direction of the government that our establishment should be closed. Then we should be able to adjust on the needs of our customers. Right now, when they lifted the ECQ and we're now going to modified enhanced community quarantine, there are certain businesses and industries that are opening, but they're not on full workforce. So the services that we are actually giving to our clients are very limited. Also, not only that, because in our own company, because we're running on a skeletal workforce, the services that we're providing our employees are also limited. Lastly, the lack of agility to respond to rapidly changing situations. In this, we've experienced this once the lockdown was announced. There were a lot of questions. What will happen to our employees? How can we be able to help our employees survive this pandemic? Do we have enough guidelines or processes in place? What we actually learned is that a lot of companies doesn't have any business continuity plan, or if they have a business continuity plan, their business continuity plan does not or will is not able to address issues like a viral pandemic, right? So there's a lot of there's a need for us to be more agile in responding to these situations. So we've learned that the current processes and policies that we have no longer is no longer adapting to what's currently happening. So those are the biggest challenges in HR. Now, let's go to after knowing these challenges, after knowing the survey coming from the HR department, coming from the employees, after learning the challenges, basically, we need to summarize ano na yung nalaman natin or what are we learning from our current situation. And what we're learning is that we need to focus on people first, economic second. This is where HR needs to stand up and tell management that for us to be able to take care of our company, we need to take care first of our people. Next would be to develop rapid response teams that are cross-organizational or that runs cross-organizational boundaries. Meaning, this is where a non-traditional HR setup is actually more effective. When I say this, di ba, we have our traditional HR setup, and then we have the HR business partnering model. This is where the HR business partnering model is effective, wherein because there will be specific HR teams on site or on those remote areas that can actually respond immediately to the needs and concerns of that particular section or that particular business. They don't have to wait for the central HR organization to provide the let's call this to provide solutions. Next would be to distribute authority to remote HR professionals. We have companies that doesn't have any full setup of HR on each geography or each region. Normally, in some small and medium companies, there are just one HR or a small HR team that manages a particular number of workers. Now, unfortunately, in the previous setup, that particular HR person or personnel doesn't have any authority. That person is really working more transactional, not really strategic. Now, the new normal will be to make sure that this remote HR professionals or HR personnel should be more empowered, should have more authority, and should be able to think strategic, to be able to respond to whatever issues, problems, or concerns in their particular region, in their particular area. That should be creating real-time data collection and identify precisely where the problem is. HR people, we know this. When COVID-19 happened and there was a lockdown, a lot of HR departments are scrambling. Why? When the government announced that there will be financial aid like Dole Camp, SSS, SBWS, we just realized that our data of our employees are either not updated or incomplete. Imagine our own employee in our own records, we don't even have their TIN number. We don't even have their updated contact number or updated address. We don't even have their correct SSS number. So these are the things. What I'm trying to say is we just realized that somehow along the way, we forgot to have regular audit and making sure that there should be real-time data collection. And this is something that we will be doing on the new normal. There should be a system where employees in our entire organization can have real-time data inputs or can provide us real-time data, and there should be, and we should be able to use that data and identify what are the gaps in our processes in our systems and be prepared for whatever eventuality that would happen again. Another learning would be rapidly develop programs to educate, train, and empower people to work from home. Or, if not working from home, make sure you create strict guidelines for those working on site. One of the things, in at least in my industry, in the BPO industry, there was a existing I would say there was an existing notion by people managers and leaders that we cannot have our our agents or our people work from home. There is trust issues. They feel that working from home or allowing people to work from home would lessen productivity, would have a lot more issues, not only security, but also issues in terms of being able to follow the correct processes, either given by the client or your own processes in the organization. But because of this pandemic, we just realized that that's not true, right? In our industry, we just realized that providing people an opportunity to work from home will not affect their productivity. In my own company, we found out that in some instances, in some line of businesses, productivity actually goes up. Kasi una-una, hindi na mag-a-absent yung mga tao nyo kasi nasa bahay na talaga sila. Pangalawa, in terms of productivity, they need to be focused on their work because they know that because of the criticality of the current situation right now, they need to be more focused in making sure that they are able to beat SLAs. Another thing is that because they have the privilege of working at home and not being exposed to possible sickness if they go to the office, they appreciate that, and because of that appreciation, there there's actually a drive for them to be more productive, and that's what I'm trying to say. There was a um, a shift on the mindset of a lot of people leaders to actually rethink about uh, having work from home or flexible work arrangement for companies. Now, for those people who needs to be in the office because it's not allowed by the client, because it's actually their work is really more of in terms of production, like for manufacturing companies, food and beverage companies, and whatnot, then we need to make sure that the current guidelines that we have will be more stricter. It should follow what the Department of Health, the Department of Trade and Industry is providing us, because not following those or not implementing such processes or guidelines would mean that people on site can get sick, people on site can be affected, not only being sick, but also the morale of the people. If they don't see you implementing stricter guidelines on site, then the morale of the people will be lower. The morale of the people, what they will think is, our company is not being proactive. Our company is not taking care of us. They're just letting us go to work without any face mask, without any availability for disinfection, without any availability for a rapid test. So what I'm trying to say is really, if you're not able to provide strict guidelines for your people working on site, then not only the morale but the trust for your employees towards you as an employer, towards you as a people leader, towards you as an HR professional will really dip. Next would be relaxing of relaxing of rules for the hours, the pay and leave utilization in response to this fast changing conditions. A lot of companies have strict guidelines in terms of leave utilization. Now, how would you file for leave if you're actually working from home, right? What would be the guidelines that you would have for someone, an employee filing for leave when they're not actually in the office? What will be your guidelines in terms of their hours of pay? Um, because if you do not accept the fact that people are working from home, how would you evaluate them in terms of their productivity, in terms of their inputs, right? In terms of their working hours. So there should be a relaxation of our current policies about that, but not only to relax those policies, but my suggestion is really to evaluate, is our current processes and policies still catering to the new normal? Because if not, it's time for you to reevaluate and make sure to create processes that would cater to your employees in terms of their hours of work, how they are being paid, and how their leaves are being utilized. Next would be to quickly assess what jobs are going away and start to align employees toward new roles quickly. Now, reality is, um, team, is that there are certain jobs that would no longer be available, mainly because uh, these are jobs either the company would like to cost cut and would move those responsibilities to current existing workforce, or because these jobs would no longer be viable during this particular time of pandemic. Now, knowing that, we should be able to assess the different job functions of our employees per department. Which of these uh, job functions can we upgrade and can we align to the current needs of the organization? Next would be staying positive and communicate a positive growth spirit during this uncertain and challenging stage of um, of COVID-19 or during pandemic. Team, I mentioned a while ago that having one source of communication is very important, mainly because it lessens the confusion, it mitigates having false information or false news. But you have to make sure that when you create communications to your employees, you have to positively script it in a sense that do not paint a very gloomy message to your employees that hey, because of what's happening to the business, babagsak tayo, magsasara tayo or whatnot. Make sure that you positively script things and make sure that they would understand that you're trying your best to be optimistic about the current situation. One thing I've learned in my almost 20 years of working is that people would always look into their leaders or look up into their leaders. If you, as a people manager or as a department head, is full of positivism, is optimistic, even in the face of challenges, people will gravitate and follow you. People will gravitate to you and will follow you, whatever situation, whatever circumstances. Now, we've known the problem earlier on. Now, having a solution mindset is very important. We've known that COVID-19 has all the elements of VUCA. Now, to fight or to counter that particular situation, we need to make sure to have these elements of having a solutions mindset. One is we need to be reliable in these volatile situations. And when I say reliable, you need to make sure you follow through on what you've said and agreed with your employees, because that would actually accelerate momentum and trust. Next is be trustworthy during these uncertain situations. Invest in people, keep teams engaged, make sure that you involve your stakeholders, your partners, make sure that you're able to speak and you're speaking that is understandable or relatable to your people. Always act in respectable ways. Baka naman, may problema na nga, nagtataray ka pa, ikaw pa yung may ganang magtaray sa mga employees mo. Di ba? You have to make sure that your image as an HR, remember, as an HR professional, we are the heart of the company, and we need to make sure that we provide also hope to our employees, and we need to make sure that we are trustworthy, that we gain their trust during this times of uncertainty. Next would be direct in complex situations. You will be encountering a lot of moving forward, even post pandemic, you'll be encountering a lot of questions, situations, concerns, problems, and issues. Being direct is very important. Make sure you are transparent in giving or providing information. You communicate it clearly and make sure that you gain mutual trust, and as much as possible, have collaborative efforts with your teams. Lastly, on making sure that you have a solutions mindset is be understandable in this ambiguous situation. Clarity in purpose, clarity in direction, and clarity in the responsibilities you're providing your employees and your team members is very important for them to be empowered and for them to make sure that they know their role in the entire organization. Now, after knowing how we can how we can counter the problems the via having a solutions mindset, next would be what is the employee experience? We need to revise the employee experience. Now, what I'm showing there is a table wherein there are action plans and what are prior COVID and after COVID-19. Now, let's go to focus. Focus of the organization before COVID-19 is productivity and engagement. In HR, we know this. Our focus before this pandemic happened is really more of how productive the employees are, and because we believe that engagement is very important, how are we engaging our employees on a daily basis? But because of COVID-19, the focus will be more into we need to diagnose what are the gaps and issues in our organization, and we need to make sure we respond immediately. In terms of moments, previously, prior COVID-19, the focus of HR in terms of employee experience is really more of talent transitions, onboarding new hire employees, employee movements, either lateral or vertical, or via promotion. After COVID-19, there will be a shift in terms of what are the immediate actions that we need to take. Are there, in terms of, are there employees that are infected? What are the incidents coming in because of the new normal? And what are the geographies that is being affected? We'll also be discussing in terms of the action plan, the experience. Prior COVID-19, we normally designed our strategy in advance, right? That's the reason why we do um, quarterly, mid-year, and annual projections of our strategic plan. In the new normal, the design will always be real time. It will always be because there's ambiguity on what are the issues and problems that may arise. We need to make sure that we're agile in designing solutions in real time. Before, the direction is from global to local, meaning you have a global headquarters or a global company that sets the direction, that sets the policies, the processes, and that sets what will be the path or the journey that the organizations across geographies will be taking. After COVID-19, the direction will be local to global. What are the things affecting your local geographies, and how will it affect the global organizations? In terms of functions, domain-centered, meaning these are really more of traditional setup wherein you have different domains in HR based on the HR facets. You have your compensation benefits, your talent acquisition, your learning and OD, your labor employee relations, or either HR operations. After COVID-19, everyone in your HR department should be cross-trained and should be able to work in different domains, in different facets. Now, in terms of the pace, before COVID-19, there's only periodic data audit and data analysis. Now, after COVID-19, we realized that there should be regular audit, there should be real-time data analysis for us to be more attuned and to be more effective in providing solutions to our businesses or whatever concerns that our employees would have. Now, after discussing to you the employee experience, let me just give you a summary. One of the most important HR capabilities that we should have right now, we should be able to be, we should have the ability to be agile. HR departments must build a crisis response muscle, learn quickly, and distribute authority and coordinate those activities and implement real data collection. We need to make sure we're listening and communicating to our employees via new programs that are aligned to the new normal. And lastly, this is just something that I would like to share. Is there really a change in the role of HR? You know what, guys? Neil and I have been in HR for almost 2 decades now, and we've seen how HR evolved. We've seen that HR coming from just a desk type of job or more of a hiring type or more on focus on personnel or transactional work, over the years it becomes more strategic, and over the years the HR models evolve. Now, what will happen after this pandemic? Now, the role of HR will still be evolving. It has evolved over the decades. It will be evolving more aggressively right now because of the pandemic crisis. HR people, as I mentioned, will be more agile. They will be more aggressive, more employee centric, and they will be more strategic in making sure to develop, implement, and facilitate the new processes, programs, and activities that they would have, that you guys would have for your employees under the new normal. And this is really more of for you guys to fully adopt on whatever is happening, because we don't know what will happen post pandemic. Since we don't know, what we need to make sure is we need to be ready. So this is my question to all of you. Are you ready? Thank you very much, everyone. And that's the end of my presentation. Now, if you would need a copy of this presentation, I will need you to add me on LinkedIn, because I will upload this on my LinkedIn page. Just search for me in LinkedIn, Darwin Rivers in LinkedIn. And if you have time, please visit my FB page, facebook.com HR Guru Life Coach, because if you don't know, I'm not only an HR professional, I'm also a life coach. And for those of you guys who are not yet member of the Philippines HR group, please join the Philippines HR group via facebook.com/groups/PhilHR groups. Invite your network, invite fellow HR leaders, HR professionals to join our ever-growing organization. You know what? What I've realized over the past few weeks is that we are really building a culture of bayanihan in our community. And that's very important. Being able to know that even if you're far, there is someone that can reach out to help you, right? So again, maraming salamat po for this opportunity that you've given me for tonight to sharing my thoughts about how HR or how HR's work will evolve post COVID-19. Neil, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darwin. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more in saying that our work has evolved um, over time. No, our work in HR, and I could say that the evolution right now, if I may use that term, has been drastic
Correct.
recently because of what we are experiencing. But what is really important is how agile we are in the whole scheme of things. So that is one good topic that you can know, of course, communicate with your people and probably share with our teammates in HR to be more agile. And I also like that part of your presentation wherein HR function now in the light of evolution of our work, how our work has evolved over time is that we are now cross domain now and not really focusing on one particular facet, probably in HR. So it's good if you're, let's say you're thinking of, cross-functional HR. So this is really the high time for us to do that. Would you agree, Darwin?
Agree. But before that, shout out to
Yeah.
the 125 people who joined us tonight during this
Yes.
webinar. Maraming salamat po. Naka 125
Thank you.
tayo.
Thank you for joining us. Yes, I would like to, we have received questions, Darwin. So I would like to ask, I would like to read on their behalf.
Sure.
There's that question from Ronnie, coming from Ronnie. He said, he is asking or saying, he hope you can enlighten us, Darwin, in terms of the process on temporary layoff. That is one of the questions among us HR today. Some company from food and beverage or restaurants industry will operate but choose to retain employees by temporary layoff due to financial crisis in the coming months. So
Okay.
what's your take on that, Darwin?
Ronnie, when you say temporary layoff, it's not actually part of the just causes and authorized causes as written in the Philippines Labor Code. But temporary layoff is really more of, it was actually part of the DOLE uh, measures that was implemented way back to help companies in terms of adjusting whenever they are faced in financial or business exigencies. Now, one thing is that temporary layoff is allowed. That's for sure. And when you say temporary layoff, based on the guidelines, an employer can actually put employees under temporary layoff for a maximum of 60 days. And now you need to make sure that you have criteria in choosing the people who will be placed into temporary layoff. As much as you have criteria being used for just causes or for authorized causes of termination. When we say authorized cause of termination, that's retrenchment, redundancy, lay, closure of establishment, sickness, baba, lima yun eh. And then, so basically, it's allowed by DOLE, it's allowed by law to put people on temporary layoff. And again, it's maximum of 60 days. But I would ask you this, as an HR professional, as an HR leader, talk to your department heads and talk to your business leaders. You have to remember that temporary layoff, although would save the company in terms of financial, uh, in terms of the financial aspect of the company, there is a impact also to the organization, because one, those people who will be placed on temporary retrenchment would lose their morale, would lose their trust and confidence to you and to your organization in terms of taking care of them. Yes, I know that you need to make sure that you communicate well why you are placing people on temporary retrenchment. Again, it's because of the current situation. There might be a loss of productivity, loss of clients, and whatnot. But before making that decision, make sure you talk to your leaders. Do we really need to implement temporary retrenchment? And if we implement this, do we have programs that can actually help our employees during the time that they are placed into temporary retrenchment? That's
I agree, Darwin. And probably what I could say is that part of the plan is actually how, because you were talking about motivating it's sort of, I do not know if there's a right term for
Mhm,
motivating them again, when they go back to work. And I believe it could be a crucial part in the overall plan that you are to carry out, no? That once they come back, we have to make sure that they would still be as productive, and the trust and confidence in the management would, they would be able to regain that trust and confidence, given the case, no? And
mhm,
probably and communication, as you could say, as you said earlier, is very important in doing this, no?
mhm,
We should be able to positively communicate to our
mhm,
employees, no, whatever it is that we're going through right now. And I would like to read now the second question, Darwin.
sure.
This is from an anonymous attendee. With the decreased income or cash flow of establishments, how can HR elicit cooperation and understanding of employees when management implements reduction of work days, work hours, forced leave, temporary cessation, termination? So related to that first question of Ronnie.
How would you be able to elicit cooperation? To be able to elicit cooperation, go back to my presentation a while ago. What are the four things that you need to do? Diba? Yung, if we have a problem, there is a solution mindset. Having a solutions mindset, meaning you have to make sure you are trustworthy, you are transparent, you are able to properly communicate all the reasons why you're doing this. And then you have to make sure that you are able to also provide solutions or additional help to your employees that will be impacted. Um, we all know that having um, reduction of work days, reduction of work hours, forced leave, temporary cessation, or termination, this is actually happening, not only in our country, but globally. In the US, there are what, 15 million people who are jobless right now, and millions more across uh, different countries across the globe. This is the reality because of the financial crisis brought by the pandemic. Now, what are the things, now since this is the reality, um, implementing this reduction of work days, reduction of work hours, you have to convey the clear message that we're doing this to save jobs. We're actually doing this to save jobs, not to cut down on costs. We're doing this to save jobs so that the company can float and thrive through the crisis. So it's really more of proper communication. And of course, the buy-in of your leaders. If you don't have the buy-in of your leaders, your department leaders, or the immediate supervisors, then you will be at loss. One thing that I would always do whenever there is in all of my previous companies, whenever I need to announce such things, is I talk first to the people leaders. I need to explain them very well why this needs to happen and why we need to implement this. Either they're affected or not, they need to know, they need to understand, and they need to be aligned to what management's plan is. Because even if HR is the one communicating, magtatanong yung mga tao yan sa mga leaders nila. At kung mga leaders mo ay hindi marunong sumagot, hindi trained sumagot sa mga questions ng mga empleyado, magkakaroon ng kaguluhan. So kailangan yung mga leaders muna ang i-train mo at sabihan mo so that you'll have a unified communication to everyone.
Would you suggest, Darwin, that HR takes a lead role in communication strategy of the company? Because I know, like, for example, in my company right now, we have our communications team, but HR has been closely coordinating with them in terms of how we would be able to communicate better to our employees in terms of probably the implementation of policies and procedures, changes in how we do work, etc. So, would you say also that we should now start to take on that lead role in terms of communication, as what you're saying right now?
Agree. We should always be there. If the employee is involved, if the situation affects our employees, HR should be there. Now, you also have to understand that it should not only be HR. It should be the department heads or the people leader. You will be working side by side. Mahirap na ang HR ang makasabi sa empleyado nila na kailangan na wala na kayong trabaho or kailangan magbawas ng trabaho, magbawas ng tao, magbawas ng oras. Ang kailangan magsabi niyan, si leader, si people leader, si department head. Si HR ang magbibigay ng direction, ng guidance kung ano yung mga mangyayari after at kung bakit mangyayari ito. Pero yung the whole story, si people leader sa department head ang dapat magsabi niyan. Kasi they are the people who are more connected to the employees, right? Another role of HR is to create, sabi mo nga, there will be one internal communications team or internal communications group who would provide the general messaging across departments. And that's where we also have to collaborate with that.
So a lot of convincing from HR to our department heads or line leaders. We have to really exercise that convincing power. Okay,
Agree.
so yeah, and in relation to that, spreading positivity, positive communication. Another attendee is asking, how would we be able to spread positivity at the same time being realistic and transparent to employees, especially when explaining the real situation of the company? Shall we provide like numbers, Darwin? Provide them data so that they would understand better? How would we communicate?
Based on my experience, yes, you normally provide data to your leaders, not to your rack and file, not to everyone. The leaders, because they would have the maturity and the knowledge to interpret those data on how it affects the organization. What you need to communicate to the general population of your employees will be more of a general message of why this should happen, why this particular guidelines or situation affects the company, and why, and what will be the guidelines or programs that will be implemented. So, um, tama nga siya eh, being realistic and transparent is always crucial. But when we say realistic, you can always positively script something, right? It's really more of how well you communicate. I'll give you an example. When you say to your employees na, team, hindi na kayo mapasok bukas, hindi kayo mapasok 2 linggo kasi wala naman kayong trabaho, wala kayong gagawin kasi nga COVID-19. How would you positively script it? You will say that, team, because of the current situation right now that we're facing, because of the pandemic, the company is actually providing you an opportunity to be safe at home, to be able to be more productive at home, and until we find ways to get you back to the organization. So it's really more, this is just an example. Again, it's really more of how would you positively script your messaging to your employees.
Positive scripting. But that's a
Correct.
very good example, Darwin. That's very practical. Instead of saying, wala na ba kayong gagawin, good that you would say, you have more time to do other things, be more productive in that sense until such time that, mas clear na lahat, etc. And that's
Or
positive scripting.
correct. Or you can also communicate that the company is very much concerned of your health and wellness.
Correct. What are
And
the benefits?
and this time where COVID-19 is drastically affecting the health and wellness of a lot of people being sick, a lot of people dying, the company decides that it is more appropriate to take care of you by not coming to work and having you secure your family. So it's really more of how would you positively script it.
And of course, you have to focus more on the benefits and, of course,
Correct.
safety and
Correct.
security, making them feel that they are being taken care of. All right.
Correct. Correct.
Would you be willing to answer, Darwin, some labor relations, tayo mga labor relations questions? No, what
Actually,
if
I
a
I'm
yeah,
seeing a lot of labor relations questions.
yeah.
I know, guys, that you're familiar na part of my passion is labor relations. Yan nga yung tinuturo ko sa mga HR, labor, how to handle labor cases and whatnot. But I think we're somehow out. Your questions is not aligned to my topic right now in my webinar. I would ask you to please post this at the Philippines HR group, and we will answer it there. It's not only me. There's a lot of labor experts in in the Philippines HR group. And just to give you an idea, a lot of people from DOLE, a lot of people from NLRC are actually members of the Philippines HR group, and they are actively uh, providing inputs or answers to your questions. So for those, I'm seeing a lot of labor-related questions. Please feel free to post it at the Philippines HR group, and we promise to answer them.
All right. You were mentioning about relaxed hours now. In relation to productivity, Darwin, and I know still, there are companies still who are using, let's say, attendance in their performance evaluation. Well, of course, but anyway, in that case, for example, that we are working on we have a flexible working arrangement right now. Somebody's asking about, how to track productivity of an employee working from home. And would you suggest also, I would like to add that question, would you suggest now, in terms of the evaluation of performance of our employees, to, give probably a lighter weight or totally disregard in now attendance in terms of, evaluating them, our employees rather?
Three things on top of my mind right now. One is there are a lot of softwares and tools that can actually evaluate or capture productivity of your employees even if they're at home. A lot of BPO companies and shared services companies knows this. There are certain tools that can actually capture productivity and uh, show the progress of productivity of your employees, even if they're working at home. Second is that you have to be mindful. What is the position and the role of the person? Because there's a lot of positions in our organization that is really more of result-based driven. And when you say and most of this result-based driven work are really more of qualitative, not quantitative, right? You cannot tell a trader, you cannot tell a manager or a leader that these are the things that you need to do hour per hour. Because at the end of the day, you are measuring them based on their entire output, on the entire results of their possession based on the SLAs. So you have to be mindful also of what will be the level, possession, or role of that particular person. Third would be, you are correct, in terms of relaxing some current policies and guidelines with regards to uh, your, in terms of your performance improvement plan or your PIP, your performance improvement plan in evaluating the people. I think during this time of crisis, you have to be more lenient. And this is just my opinion. And this is what I've actually shared to my people leaders. Let's be more lenient. Guys, the situation right now is that there are a lot of things that is happening that affects our employees, even if they're staying at home. They're thinking of a lot of things, health, security, their family, and whatnot. Na doble-doble yun ngayon because of the crisis. And although historically, based on my experience, ano nga di ba, na-mention ko kanina, hindi naman nagde-dip yung productivity ng mga employees namin eh. So you just have to trust them. And when I say being lenient is um, hindi lang nakapag-log in on time dun sa tool, ima-markdown mo na. Or hindi lang niya na-meet yung SLA for the particular day, ima-markdown mo na. I think you just have to have a regular conversation. The people leader should have a regular conversation with the employee. Ano ba yung issue or problem ng employee? Why is he or she not reaching the expected output day by day, week by week, month by month? Is there a problem? If there is a problem, how can you help? Because if you don't do that, if you just look at the numbers, then you're seeing every employee as a number and not as a person.
I would agree with you, Darwin. That actually, well, apparently in my company right now, productivity went higher. With a lot of us, or actually 90% of us, are working from home. So and I like what you said about you have, if you want, let's say, a regular check-in of your employees, of your team members, that would have to be done or agreed upon between the people leader and the members.
Correct.
And as HR, we are just to provide guidance and not to provide like strict rules and regulations about this. So, and we really have to be more lenient at times at this time. And I would say we have to focus more on the results rather than the
Correct.
activities and the number of hours devoted by a particular employee on a particular task. Okay.
Agree, agree. By the
Yes.
way, Neil, just a shout
Sure.
out. I have a classmate on the line, Michelle Ann Sapanta, classmate in high school. Hello po. Thank you for your message. Hello to Madeline Tobias. Hello to Oppo A3. I think you're using your company's name. Hello to Sharon Del Rosario Oliveros. Hello to Jinky Gohar. And hello to all the people who again joined us, even on a Saturday. It means that you are investing on your learning. It means that you're taking time to even on a weekend to learn. And you know what? I've been telling this to a lot of my co-trainers, co-facilitators, co-HRs. Because of this pandemic, there's a lot of free webinars going on. Now, I always believe that no one has a monopoly of knowledge. But I always think also that whenever I choose a webinar, I choose it smartly. uh, you need to make sure that those particular learning sessions you'll be attending, you get what is the value. Kasi every webinar naman has a value eh. You just need to get what is valuable to you and then learn from it and then check if this is something that you can implement or this is something that will be added to your knowledge bank.
I couldn't agree more, Darwin. Yes. I've actually attended a lot of webinars, but you have to carefully choose them and find what particular webinar you would benefit from the most. I like what you said about the shift in the mindset right now. And would you agree with me in saying that innovativeness um, is one of the things that is important right now? As HR, we really need to be innovative in terms of our processes of how we do things because it's still unfolding.
Agree,
The
agree,
new normal, we're just seeing the facade, right, of the new normal. We could not define it actually right now.
agree. Thank you for sharing that, Neil. I think I forgot that. Being innovative is important at this time because you now more than ever you need to make sure you to think out of the box. You need to make sure that because the reality is what you're previously implementing is no longer working, or if it's not working, there's a lot of gaps. So you have to be innovative to create better processes, better policies, better programs that would be aligned to the current normal that would be more effective to your employees.
Darwin, I have a question about since we're one of the things that we are focusing right now is on the health and safety of our employees. I know not all companies have like safety officers probably or even nurses or doctors in their company. Would you suggest right now, regardless of the number or the size of your company, that you must have your safety officers, if I may call them safety officers, or in relation to the rapid response teams that you mentioned a while back?
Well, one, safety officers per organization is already a requirement from DOLE. Nurses and doctors, there are certain, you need to have to reach a certain number of FTEs
That's
before,
right.
before you can actually have a nurse or a doctor on site. But if you're thinking of long term, thinking of strategic, yes, if your company can, then having a nurse, having a doctor on site, or having partnership with different clinics or hospitals near your site would actually be a good idea. But having safety officers or health and wellness officers is already a mandatory across all companies.
And in relation to health and safety, with regard to, let's say, annual physical examination, because that's one of the issues right now. How would we conduct now our annual physical examination? Um, Number one question would be, would you suggest including that now, let's say for pre-employment, and then during APE COVID-19 testing? And then, yeah, that's actually my question. Would you
Again,
suggest?
if the company is able to, if the company has budget for it, I would say go. I would say that will be a very good idea. 'Cause, right now, the pre-employment examination would range from 400 to 1,000. Now, the COVID test would range from 500 to 2,500. And imagine, that is actually a big cost, additional cost to your pre-employment requirements. And I'm wearing my my HR cost effective hat right now. Um,
Yeah.
Now, but if your company can, if you're part of a big organization, if your leaders would agree, I would say to have that in place. Kasi ang sabi ko nga, I've met with one of this organization and sabi niya masyado namang mahal yung yung COVID test, hindi naman yan requirement ng government. Ang sagot ko sa kanya is this: okay, mahal yung COVID test na sinasabi mo. Pero wala kang HMO or magandang HMO sa kumpanya mo. Pag nagkasakit si employee mo, ang gastos niyan 500 to 1 million. Kaya mo ba 'yon? So, yun nga yung point di ba? It's really more of um, having forward thinking, being able to
Yes.
analyze if you what you can and what you can't implement. But as much as possible, having those in place is something a good to have. It's more of a mitigating factor, right?
I like what you said, forward thinking. As HR practitioners, we should be forward thinkers, always anticipating, the foresight, no, yung foreseeing things. That's very important nowadays. Um, and what I realized really is what you said about the real time data collection. That's very important right now. That's
Mm-mm.
also one of the lessons that we have learned in our company.
Yes, for the
Because
past 2, 3 weeks,
yeah,
most of the posts at the Philippine HR group are HR people telling us that they don't have the updated SSS, PIN, and contact information of their employees. Going back, these are your employees. Those information are mandatory to be given to you. If your HRIS system is not updated, the gap or the ball goes back to you because it means you're not able to do your job well, or there is a gap in the process that did not allow you to perform your job well.
actually, what is challenging right now for us HR, it's we should have a good combination of admin, HR, administrative champion, at the same time strategic partner of the organization. Because this is admin. Updating regularly our data. You getting the right data or information from our employees, something that is administrative. So we need still to be administrative champions, but at the same time, we should be forward thinkers. We should be agile, strategic at that. So quite challenging, really. What is what you're saying, Darwin, is really a very challenging path right now
Agree.
that we are to tread as HR practitioners.
Agree.
But
That's the reason why, Neil. Sorry to cut you off. That's the reason why a lot of organizations are moving from the traditional HR model to a more business strategic model, where in the HR business partnering model, you have your different towers, right? You have your HR business partners, you have your center for excellence, or your heads of the specialist for this particular HR facet, your head for labor, your head for compensation benefits, or your head for engagement or whatnot. And then you have your HR operations team, or normally your shared services team in HR. They're more of the administrative task is given to them. Their task is more routinary. Their task is easier and easily to in terms of audit, because they're really more of the numbers and the output. Now for your COE, Center for Excellence, and your HR business partners, the output is really more of qualitative. The relationships between business leaders, employees, how they're able to resolve and strategize policies based on the current situation. So I'm not saying that the company should move from a traditional to a more of a fast forwarding HR business partnering type of model, because it will really depend also on your headcount, your the type of organization. Baka naman flat type yung organization nyo, or baka multi-hierarchical organization nyo. It will really depend on your HR leaders and the type of organization you would have. But what I'm saying is, yes, there should be people who are focused on the administrative function, because we just know that not being able to do that greatly affects us.
that's true. I couldn't agree more, Darwin. Now, I wish we have more time, but we are left with about 9 minutes. And again, just for those who asked questions that are related to labor and how we would carry out those rules or policies at this time of pandemic, we encourage you to post that on Facebook, or would you also accommodate direct messages, Darwin? For you to be able to answer them directly.
uh,
Yeah,
um, as much as possible, since ano naman, I'm part of the admin team
that's right.
of the Philippine HR group. Just post it at the Philippine HR group, and
Okay.
once posted, I will answer it. Before, nung less than 10,000 pa tayo, ni lahat ng dozens of questions sa pop-up sa inbox ko, sinasagot ko. Lately kasi, dahil nasa 208,000 na tayo, ah,
208,000.
ang laman ng inbox ko, both sa Facebook saka sa email, nag-range ng 100 to 200 a day. Akala po ata nila wala akong full-time job. May full-time job po ako. So, hindi ko po kayo masasagot kagad. Pero masasagot ko po kayo doon sa Philippines Asia Group um, wall, mainly because I believe that hindi lang kayo yung may problema niyan. And there are people who would have the similar or same problems or issues that you might have, and answering them would be able to provide them ideas also on how to resolve their own issues. So again, for all those who provided or asked labor-related questions, normally I would say yes, isa-isa ko kayo, but right now, just to be fair to all the people that I was not able to answer in the past, please post it at the Philippines HR Group page and we will answer it there.
That's right. And yes, we'll be able to answer all of your questions that are labor related. Um, any other messages, parting words, Darwin, before we actually leave the virtual floor? What else
Okay.
would you want to share with the team?
I want to share with the team, I think sabi ko na we really need to be agile post-pandemic, and we need to make sure to think out of the box. We need to partner with our business leaders and our department heads. Um, for announcement, season 1 of the virtual learning class has already ended via this class 4, but we're actually looking forward to season 2, more classes, more free virtual classes. Our HR mentors have already signed up. Shout out to Miss Penny Bongato, who will be part of that. Shout out to Sir Chetnera, who also said that he would like to be part of it. Shout out to Daphne Granfield, who said that she would also be part of it. There are a lot of very credible, seasoned HR leaders who are lined up for season 2. So I hope you continue to support us, because since we're not able to provide you a learning event, now the learning event becomes virtual, and we promise you that it will be free as long as our mentors are supporting us and making sure that they say yes to us. We will be having this virtual learning class for free. And again, thank you for jobstreet.com, JobStreet Philippines,
Yes.
for sponsoring the webinar in terms of them allowing us to use their bandwidth in Zoom.
Yes, thank you very much again, jobsheet.com Philippines, for allowing us to have these virtual classes. And I mentioned a while ago, I called everyone HR team instead of HR community because primarily right now, the team spirit is very evident. You mentioned about Bayanihan right now, Darwin. Especially here in the Philippines, our culture, we are so used to Bayanihan. And that is much evident right now in our respective companies. And as HR practitioners, we should be the one, championing that kind of spirit, the team spirit. Let's work together. Let's be more agile, be more dynamic. I like, again, the word forward thinkers, because everything, what is happening right now is still unfolding. The new normal is just a facade. We could not define that yet. And I must say, defining new normal now depends on your respective companies, how you would define it. Meaning, processes, procedures, how you would be implementing things would depend on probably the nature of your organization, how you would want to move forward. And but what is really important is, as HR practitioners, we should be championing this. We should be, working as a team. Within your respective teams or within HR, you should be really glued together, so that we'll be able to hurdle the challenges that we are facing right now because of this pandemic crisis. So thank you very much, Darwin, for giving us concrete steps, concrete tips, for sharing those very practical tips on how we would be able to thrive better amidst this situation, this COVID-19 pandemic. And I would say, just hold on to each other, hold on to one another, and we'll be able to survive this. So again, thank you very much for more than 120 participants who joined us tonight. It has
And
been a
I'm
pleasure.
sure, correct, I'm
Yeah.
sure the 125 people who joined us tonight, I'm sure there are more people who will be watching the YouTube recording that I'll be posting by in a few minutes after this. So
Yeah.
please share to those people who are not able to attend. Um, and just a trivia for all the four classes, there are 732 who actually signed up for the four classes, and
Oh,
80% of those were able to attend uh, their whichever class they signed up to. And maraming salamat po sa pag-sign up for this class. And again, maraming salamat, Philippines HR Group. Thank you, Neil,
thank you
for
very much.
hosting. Bye, everyone. Be safe. Happy weekend.
It has been a
And
pleasure, Darwin.
thank
Be safe,
you.
everyone. Stay healthy. Be safe. God bless.
God bless.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.